My name is Emily. I'm 30 and I live in Chicago. It looks like an ordinary life, a cozy apartment, a job in marketing, a guy named Josh, with whom I've been together for 4 years. We are not perfect, but who is perfect? That Tuesday, I returned home later than usual. I stopped by my friend's place, but I was late. And when I returned, I found Josh on the balcony. He smoked, although he quit 6 months ago. There was something strange in his gaze. "We need to talk," he said. I froze. These were the words that every woman is afraid of, but I didn't even know how much they would change my life. We sat on the couch like strangers. Josh stared at one point and said slowly, "You're hiding something, Em." "I'm not an idiot." My heart was pounding like crazy. He thought I had someone. But I didn't have anyone, physically. Although, yes, I corresponded with someone else. It was Mark. We went to college together, and suddenly he texted a couple of months ago. It seems harmless. We were flirting. But I've always convinced myself that these are just words. Josh didn't know the details, but he could feel it, and it was scary. When Mark wrote for the first time, I felt like I had gone back 10 years. He was the way I remembered him, cocky, confident, a little dangerous. We corresponded in the evenings when Josh was at work. I wasn't going to go beyond words. But sometimes Mark wrote things that took my breath away. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to choose his words. I liked feeling wanted and interesting. Something that seemed to have become less in my relationship with Josh. But I knew for sure that everything would change if Mark showed up in Chicago. And he appeared. He came on business, he said. We met at a cafe. It was awkward. So many years had passed, and I still remembered how he kissed me at the library. In the cafe, he looked at me as if I were conquered territory. I was restrained, but everything was boiling inside. We parted at the entrance. I didn't go with him. I was proud of myself. But when I got home, Josh asked, "Where have you been?" and I lied. I said I was at Lily's. This was the first lie. But not the last one. Josh has been different since then. He became quieter. Be more polite. Too polite. As if he was watching. I could feel the tension in the apartment growing. I tried to be exemplary. But one day he asked, "Does Lily know that you said you were with her?" And I realized that he was checking everything. I knew I was ruining trust, but I couldn't stop. Mark wrote every night. Josh started working late more often. Or was he pretending? Everything became like a game. But no one knew who was the victim and who was the hunter. I woke up one morning and saw a voicemail from Mark. He was drunk. He said he still loved me. That he remembers that night after graduation. I erased the message. And then another one. But there were already too many of them. I was afraid Josh would see. And then for the first time I thought, should I block the brand? But she couldn't. I was addicted. Not from him, but from the feelings he evoked. Josh was still there, but it felt like I was already far away. Somewhere in a parallel reality where I'm 20 years old again. On Josh's birthday, I made dinner. I bought his favorite wine. He was cold. The whole evening is like a protocol. I gave him a watch. He didn't even look up. And then he asked, "Is there something you want to tell me?" I froze. He knew. Or guessed it. I shook my head. "I'm just tired," he said. And he went into the bedroom. I was left alone, with a glass of wine and the feeling that I was ruining everything we had built. But instead of remorse, anger. Why should I feel guilty if he stopped seeing me a long time ago? Lily is my real friend. One day she said, "You're playing with fire, Em. You're not who you're becoming." I was angry. But then I realized she was right. I started lying not only to Joshua, but also to myself. I no longer knew what was true and what was a beautiful story that I was making up to feel alive. Mark wanted to go to New York. He said it would be easier to start over there. I thought, maybe I should really leave. But then I looked at Josh sleeping and couldn't make up my mind. And Lily was looking at me with concern more and more often. An email has arrived. Without a theme. Without a signature. Just one sentence, "He knows." I didn't know who it was. My heart was pounding. I was sitting in the office, my hands were shaking. I thought it was Josh. Or Lily. Or even Mark? Maybe he decided to speed things up? I became paranoid. She locked her phone with a password. I was checking to see if my messages were being read. This game no longer seemed safe. And most importantly, I knew that the truth was about to come out. And I wasn't prepared for the consequences. Mark rang the bell. He said he'd be in Chicago this weekend. And that he wants to solve everything once and for all. I agreed to the meeting. We went to the park. He talked a lot. About the past. About the future. And then he offered to lead Josh. He said he was ready to wait. I was silent. Everything was bubbling inside. I wanted stability. But also passion. I wanted to be understood and not tested. I wanted the impossible. Mark looked at me and said, "If not now, never." I turned away. At that moment, I heard someone say my name. I turned around and saw Josh. He was standing behind the trees. The face is made of stone. He didn't scream. I was just watching. I felt cold. He came over, nodded to Mark, and said, "Interesting walk." I didn't know how to justify myself. She didn't even try. Mark left quickly. But Josh stayed. He didn't say a word. He just watched me try to explain something. And then he turned around and left. And then I realized that the ending of this story is still ahead. But it will be different. Not the way I imagined him to be. Josh hasn't been in touch since that day. He just disappeared. At first, I thought he would come home to talk, to shout, to find out. But it's been 3 days. His stuff was still there, but he wasn't. I was sitting in our apartment, amidst the silence that was buzzing in my ears. Lily called, Mark texted, but I didn't answer. I was looking at old photos, rereading messages, looking for the moment when everything went wrong. Where was that point of no return? I didn't know how to get him back, or myself. Because with every passing minute, I felt like they were disappearing too. I accidentally found his notebook in the top drawer of the dresser. Black, leather-bound. I've never noticed her before. The pages were covered with his handwriting. It was a diary. I read it like letters from another reality. He wrote that he felt unnecessary. That he thinks I'm not with him anymore. That he's trying to figure out what he's lost. In one entry, he wrote, "I know everything. But I don't want to know." I was crying. Those words, they weren't about anger. They were about pain. And for the first time, I realized that I had hurt him deeper than I thought. While I was trying to figure out what to do, I received an email from Mark. Paper. In the envelope. He wrote that he was returning to New York. That I'm tired of waiting. What he loves, but cannot be a plan B. He asked for forgiveness. And he added, you don't have to choose me. You have to choose yourself. I have read these lines many times. It didn't sound like a grudge. Rather, as an understanding. Maybe he was right. I've spent so much time trying to find love from the outside, forgetting that I'm empty inside. And I have nothing to give until I put myself back together. One evening, Lily came to see me. Without warning. With wine and severity in his eyes. We sat down in the kitchen. She didn't say anything for 10 minutes. And then she said, you should know. Josh called me. I felt dizzy. He asked if you had anyone before Mark. He suspected that it didn't start now. I was surprised. I was sure I was hiding everything carefully. But Lily said, he just felt it. And I was afraid that I had lost you even before you started leaving. Those words were like a slap in the face. Because she was right. I didn't know what to say. I just sat down and wrote a letter. The present, on paper. No excuses. No requests to return. I just told the truth. About yourself, about your fears. She confessed that she had escaped from her real feelings into an illusion. That she had betrayed herself, not him. I left a letter on his windowsill. I didn't call or write in the messenger. She just left. And for 3 days now there has been silence. I'm waiting. Or am I learning not to wait? Or maybe that's what I need, silence to hear who I've become. The end of this story is yet to come, but whether he will be happy, no one knows.